Tonight, I'm going to show you 3 real stories from people whose security systems recorded things no one should ever see, and every one of them ends worse than it starts. It's hard to explain how deeply this has messed with my head, but I'm just going to lay it out exactly how it happened. So I live in a small 2-story house in Central Oregon, just outside of Bend. It's a quiet neighborhood, lots of pine trees, wide roads, families walking dogs, that kind of thing. I work from home, and my wife's a night shift nurse, so most nights I'm alone. We don't have kids, just a German Shepherd named Max and a Ring security system with a few outdoor cams. We got the system after someone tried breaking into my truck last year. Since then, I've gotten kind of obsessive about checking the notifications. It's mostly raccoons, delivery guys, or the occasional neighbor walking past our driveway. Normal stuff, but last Thursday night, something happened that I can't shake. It was around 2:15 a.m. I remember because I was up working on a project and had just brewed another coffee. Max was asleep at the foot of the couch. The house was quiet, dead quiet. Then I heard the ring chime from my phone. Motion detected, front door. At first, I didn't think much of it, probably a cat or maybe the wind triggered something. Still, out of habit, I opened the app. But what I saw wasn't nothing. There was a man standing at the edge of our driveway, just standing there, facing the house. I sat up straight, paused the video, and scrubbed back to the beginning. The timestamp said 2:13 a.m. This guy had just walked into frame. He wasn't moving toward the house. He was just staring, still as a statue. It's hard to explain, but there was something off about the way he stood, like his arms were too long, or maybe it was the way his head tilted upward, like he was looking through the windows instead of at them. His clothes were dark, loose, and he had something in his hand. At first I thought it was a flashlight, but it never turned on. He didn't move, not once, just stood there for a full 2 minutes before walking backwards, literally backwards, out of frame. That was it. No sound, no knock, no attempt to get in. And the weirdest part? Max never barked. Didn't even lift his head. I sat there watching the footage maybe 10 times. My stomach felt tight. You ever get that feeling like your body knows something's wrong before your mind catches up? I turned on the porch light and checked outside from the upstairs window. Nothing. The street was empty. I even opened the front door for a second. No footprints, no noise, no wind. I told myself it was some drunk kid, or a delivery guy using GPS and getting the wrong address, something normal. But when I checked the second camera, the one facing the backyard, my blood ran cold. Motion detected, backyard, 2:16 a.m. It was the same guy. This time, he wasn't standing. He was crouched beneath our back fence, right by the motion light, which somehow hadn't turned on. His head was tilted again, just slightly, but he was staring straight into the lens, and this time, he smiled. I jumped back from my phone like it burned me. Max was still passed out, no movement, not even a twitch. That scared me more than the footage. Because Max is always alert, always. I called the non-emergency line and reported the trespasser. The woman on the phone asked if I wanted an officer to come by. I said yes, but I could already hear it in her voice. Nothing they could really do. No crime had been committed, just suspicious activity. They sent a car to do a drive-by. I didn't even hear it. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the living room with a baseball bat and my phone on full volume, watching the cameras in real time. Nothing else happened. But the next morning, I found something. A folded piece of paper wedged into the crack of our mailbox. No envelope. Just a single white sheet. Folded once. No return address. Nothing written on the outside. Inside was a black and white screenshot from one of our Ring cameras. But here's the thing. It wasn't from the footage I saw. It was a different angle. It was a shot of me, through the upstairs window, watching the footage on my phone. The image was grainy but clear enough to see the glow on my face, my outline, my hand holding the phone. It was taken from outside, from somewhere else. I backed away from the mailbox so fast I almost tripped. Max was at the front door now, growling. Finally. I called the cops again. This time they actually came inside, took the paper as evidence, and reviewed the footage with me. But here's the kicker. The guy from the backyard. He never showed up in the motion log. Only the front door clip exists in the system. The backyard recording somehow doesn't exist. I still have the time-stamped alert, but the footage? Gone. The officer said maybe the camera glitched. Maybe someone tampered with it, but that's impossible. It's hardwired, not wireless. And the screenshot I got in the mailbox? That wasn't taken by my camera. They never found fingerprints. They did some extra patrols for a few nights, but eventually stopped. I haven't seen the man again, but every night, just before bed, I check the cameras. I check every angle, every feed, and every time I turn on my phone, I wonder if someone else is watching me through it. To this day, I still don't know how that photo got taken or how the footage disappeared. All I know is he was there, and he knew I was watching. And now I think he's waiting for me to let my guard down again. But sometimes what's caught on camera doesn't just want to be seen, it wants to follow you. And in our next story, it's not just the footage that's wrong, it's how the figure appears, without opening a single door. I work in IT for a regional school district in Pennsylvania. It's not glamorous, but it pays well, and the hours are predictable. One of my main responsibilities is maintaining the surveillance systems at a few of the schools, especially the middle school, which had recently upgraded all their cameras. Last fall, we installed motion-activated night vision cameras throughout the building. Classrooms, hallways, stairwells, everything. This place practically became Fort Knox after hours. I had remote access to all the feeds, and I mostly checked them when there was a tech ticket or a security alert. So when I got a call at 6:41 a.m. on a Saturday from the building custodian saying the main hallway camera had gone down, I didn't think much of it. I was already half awake. It had stormed the night before, and I figured it was just a surge messing with the power. I pulled out my laptop, opened the portal, and froze. The feed wasn't down, it was stuck, frozen on a single frame. Timestamp 3:17 a.m. That's not the part that scared me. What scared me was the image itself. There was a person standing in the hallway, facing the camera, perfectly centered, no motion blur, no sign they were moving. Just standing still, in the dark, staring up. At first I thought it was one of the janitors, maybe caught mid-shift, but then I remembered the school is locked at night. Every exit logs a badge swipe, and only 2 people had overnight access, the head custodian and me. I texted my supervisor. She replied almost instantly and said she hadn't been to the building in days. The custodian? He was off. The guy who called me was only there to open up for the weekend volleyball team at 7 a.m. No one had authorization to be in the school at 3 a.m. I stared at the frozen frame again, zoomed in. The figure was tall, too tall, wearing what looked like a hooded sweatshirt, but the face was completely obscured, almost like there wasn't a face at all, just shadow where a head should be. I scrubbed the footage back about 5 minutes. Everything was normal, just an empty hallway. Then, at 3:16:42, pop, the camera flickered. Just once. Less than a second. When the frame returned, the figure was there. No approach, no movement, just suddenly there. It stood motionless for about 25 seconds. Then the feed froze completely. The camera never rebooted. At this point, my stomach was turning. I've seen a lot of weird stuff working in tech. People sneaking into labs, breaking into vending machines, you name it. But this wasn't that. I remoted into the adjacent hallway camera. Same timestamp, 3:17 a.m. This one wasn't frozen, but something was off. The hallway was empty, no sign of the figure. But the lights were flickering, faster than normal, almost like Morse code. And in the audio feed, barely audible, there was this weird sound. Not static. It sounded like breathing, but not through a mic, almost like it was happening inside the camera, like something was too close to the lens. That's when I got a call from the building. It was the weekend custodian again. He sounded shaken. He said, "Hey, I don't know if this is your department, but there's a puddle in the main hallway." I asked him what he meant. He said it wasn't water. It looked oily, like someone had dragged something wet across the floor. A long smear, straight down the center of the corridor, about 40 feet long, right where the figure had been. I told him to stay in the office and not touch anything. Then I drove straight there. When I arrived, the custodian was pale. Didn't say much, just pointed. And yeah, there it was. A dark streak, thin but noticeable, like something dripping as it moved. It ended directly below the wall-mounted camera, right underneath the lens. I climbed up on a chair and examined it. There were smudges around the lens, not fingerprints exactly, more like residue, smear marks in an unnatural pattern. I reviewed the rest of the building, checked every feed. Only one other camera had a glitch. It was in the music room. That feed cut out at 3:22 a.m., came back 5 seconds later, and when it did, the piano lid was open. It had been closed the whole night. I checked. We have footage from 10 p.m. showing the janitor locking the room with the lid down. No one entered that room, but when I walked in that morning, there were fresh prints on the keys, smudged, black, as if someone had pressed down with oily fingertips. And stuck between the keys, a strip of photo paper, like something from an old analog camera. It had been developed, but only partially. I took it to a lab that specializes in restoring analog negatives. They managed to bring out the faint outlines. It showed the same hallway from earlier, same camera angle, same time. But this time, there were multiple figures, 4 of them, standing in different spots, all facing the camera, all looking upward. I showed it to the district. They shut down any investigation, claimed it was a tech malfunction, and said I must have tampered with a device. They made me sign a statement agreeing not to discuss it with media. I wasn't fired, but I was reassigned. And the school, they replaced the entire security system 3 weeks later. To this day, I still have the original footage saved on a thumb drive, and sometimes, late at night, I watch it again, hoping maybe I'll spot something I missed, but the longer I stare at that frozen frame, the more convinced I am. That thing wasn't caught on camera by mistake. It wanted to be seen, and I don't think it was alone.
Alone is how you think you are, until you check the footage and realize something was already inside. And sometimes, the only thing between your child and whatever's watching is a blinking red light.
So this happened a few months ago. I haven't really talked about it until now because it honestly still messes with me. My wife and I had our first baby last year. We live in a 2-bedroom house in a quiet suburb outside of Sacramento. Typical neighborhood, lots of young couples, clean streets, very safe. It's the kind of place where nothing ever happens. Our daughter was just under 6 months at the time, and we'd been using one of those Wi-Fi-enabled baby monitors with night vision. It's got audio alerts, temperature readouts, motion detection, and it syncs with an app on both our phones. Pretty standard. At this point, we were in a rhythm. We'd finally figured out how to get her to sleep through most of the night, so unless she cried, we didn't check the monitor that often anymore. Until one night, when we got an alert. 3:44 a.m., motion detected. Nursery. I was half asleep when it pinged, but my wife sat up immediately and grabbed her phone. I heard her whisper, "What the hell?" And then she just handed me the phone without saying another word. I looked at the screen, expecting to see our daughter rolling over or something minor. Instead, the screen was just still. Our daughter was asleep in her crib, but there was someone else in the room. A shadow in the corner, not moving, not touching anything. Just there, behind the rocking chair, tall, slouched forward, like it was watching the crib. I felt my chest tighten. I scrubbed the footage back. At 3:43:17, the room was empty. No motion, no sound. At 3:43:58, the screen briefly fuzzed, like static, less than a second. Then the figure was just there. No walking in, no door, just suddenly standing in the far left corner. I zoomed in. The face was blurred. Not by the camera, but like it shouldn't be visible. Like the image itself rejected definition. Everything else was clear. The crib, the stuffed giraffe, the mobile, the nightlight. But that thing, no features, no eyes. Just smudge. I jumped out of bed and ran to the nursery, threw the door open. Nothing. Just our daughter. Sleeping peacefully, no windows open, no furniture moved. The rocking chair was still. Completely still. My wife came in behind me holding the baby monitor, still playing, still showing that figure, still standing there. I turned on every light in the room, waved my hand in front of the camera, still nothing on the app. The figure stayed. I unplugged the monitor. The app feed went black. That's when the alert tone pinged again. Motion detected. Living room. We both froze. I clicked the alert and switched to the living room cam, the one we had mounted by the back patio door. And for a split second, less than a second, I swear I saw the same silhouette move past the glass door, from left to right, then gone. I grabbed the baseball bat from the coat closet and checked every single window and door. They were all locked. Police came about 20 minutes later. They did a full sweep, found nothing. No signs of forced entry. No fingerprints, no tracks outside. They told us it was probably a glitch, suggested we update the firmware on our system. That was it. But here's the thing. The next morning, I checked the motion logs. 3:44 a.m. Nursery, 3:46 a.m. Living room, 3:48 a.m. Front door. The front door never opened. But the camera did catch something. A faint image, almost missed completely. A figure walking away from the door, not toward the street, but toward our side yard, and crouching. That clip ended abruptly. No alert triggered after that. We searched that area later, in daylight. Didn't find anything at first, until my wife pointed out something near the fence, a scrap of fabric caught on a nail. It was black, threadbare, like a hoodie, but way too long. Like it belonged to someone whose arms didn't fit normal sleeves. We reported it. They took it in. We never heard back. Since then, we replaced the baby monitor, added deadbolts, new motion lights, even got a dog. Nothing's happened since. But sometimes around that same hour, I'll wake up for no reason. And every time, I check the feed. I tell myself it's just to be safe, but deep down, I think I'm waiting. Waiting to see it again, and the part that haunts me? Our daughter never woke up, not once. She slept through the whole thing like she knew it was there and didn't want to move.